Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're thrilled that you're here. As Alex said, I'm Rebecca Smith Aldridge. I'm the co-founder and current board president of the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. That's my volunteer work. I actually have a day job. I'm the executive director of a public library system in New York State called the Mid-Hudson Library System. So I work every day for the past 26 years with public libraries, many of them just like yourselves, who are finding their way forward and trying their best to be relevant and responsive to their communities. And that's a big part of what we're here to share with you today is really a pretty amazing perk that your library association negotiated for you, which is 1 free year of membership in the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. So this morning, what we're going to do is explain what is the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. We're going to spend most of our time going over the member benefits, the things you get with your free membership, and there'll be plenty of time for questions if you have those as well. So Alex is still on the line. He'll help me with the questions when we get to that point. But if you bear with me for about 20, 30 minutes, we'll run through the content and then get to our questions. But you can always pop a question in the chat. Alex will be monitoring that to make sure we get to it, or you can wait till I'm done yapping on about the Sustainable Libraries Initiative, and we can have you unmute and ask your questions then. But again, we're excited to see you. This is a really big moment, I think, for your states to accelerate the work on climate change in your state. So thank you, Iowa, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York. That's pretty cool. You're joining a very large community, over 7,000 folks who are working with us and creating, I think, the new normal for what it's going to look like in the future for libraries and being responsive to your community. So what we're going to talk about here today is your free membership you have for 1 year. So you want to make the most of it. You're going to learn how to do that today. And you're going to learn a little more about the discount on the Sustainable Library Certification Program. But as you probably saw, there's a whole second webinar just devoted to the Sustainable Library Certification Program. So we'll do a brief intro to that for you today. And if that's something that really fits your needs and you realize you're ready for that, or you think you're going to be ready for that in the near term, you can come to the second webinar to really dive in on that particular program to learn all about it and hear from some folks who have finished the certification program who are going to join us for that webinar. But to get started, let's really explain what the heck is the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. So we are a group of folks. We got our start in New York State, go New York. We were hanging out at a New York Library Association meeting, and we're really talking about climate change and the impact on our communities and listening to climate scientists and understanding what was coming and really starting to wonder, where do libraries fit into this? Not only how do we protect our libraries, but how do we make sure libraries are helpful to our communities in the face of what's coming? So we formed the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. We were looking around saying, who else is doing this work? Who could help us do this work? And there really weren't many people in the profession working on it. So after about a year of waiting, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, oh, I guess we should do something. We should stop talking and put our money where our mouth is. So we got our act together. We started thinking about what would be helpful to people in the profession to do work in this area and acknowledge the fact that we just couldn't wait anymore. Climate change was well on its way. People were arguing about, does it exist or not? But we could see the effects in New York. We already knew it was here and it was going to get worse. So we decided that we knew we wouldn't be perfect, but we thought we could make progress. And that's the attitude we've had for the past 8 to 9 years, figuring out a path forward. And it seems to be working. We've got more and more people joining us literally every day. And you're going to hear more about why that is and why that community of practice is such a big deal in this program, and something that I hope you'll want to tap into just to learn what's going on in other places, if not to implement some of the stuff that you're learning as well. But the whole goal here, right, is to have a positive impact on the communities that we serve, right? There's that famous saying, think local, think global, act local. And so we can act local. What can we actually control in this big world we live in, right? We're all here on planet Earth today on Leap Day. We've got this extra day in our schedules to figure out how to make the world a better place. And when you really sit down and start thinking about it, it's overwhelming. When you start to understand why things are the way they are today, you pull on one little thread and it's tangled up with everything else. And that becomes overwhelming to people. They're not quite sure where to start, where your time and energy is going to be best spent, how to find other people that want to do that work with you, and to actually be effective. Most of us get up in the morning hoping to make a difference, not just to spin our wheels. So as we start to think about the topic of climate change, it's very easy to just say, you know what, I hope someone else takes care of that. But the truth is, we all have to take responsibility for it in our own spheres of influence. So what does that look like? Because the headlines are getting worse and worse and worse. And it's interesting today to have people on the East Coast as well as our friends in Iowa today, because climate change can look different depending on where you live. And so as we think about what was a big spark for us here in New York, which were really devastating hurricanes, that might not be what's driving the folks in Iowa who are dealing with really devastating windstorms and temperature patterns that are really impacting agriculture out in Iowa. So the headlines are getting more frequent. We're seeing more severe storms. And the climate scientists are really not brightening the day very much. Pretty much consistently for the past 4 years, the climate scientists have been telling us these are the good old days. It only gets worse from here, which is hard to hear when you see people struggling in the face of what's already happening. So it's kind of dire, right? When you start to think about the effects that really every single child alive today is going to have a negative experience in their lifetime. It's their health is going to be impacted, the economy is going to be impacted, communities and their ability to work together are already being impacted. That's a pretty dire situation that we're being faced with. And the American Library Association has acknowledged this as well, quoting not only the medical community, but the United Nations, and talking about the fact this is a red alert for humanity. And ALA themselves have come out and said this is the grandest challenge of our generation, even in the face of what we're contending with here in 2024, with really the topic on everyone's mind, which is censorship attempts in libraries. But the fact is, this slow-moving disaster is not moving so slowly anymore. We can no longer deny that or think about the fact that somebody else is going to take care of it. So ALA declared sustainability a core value back in 2019. And in January of this year, they recommitted to sustainability as a core value. If you're following that storyline, they realized the core values list had gotten kind of unwieldy. And so they went and did a study for 2 years on our core values. There is only 5 core values now, and sustainability is one of them, acknowledging the need for us all to pull together in the same direction on these topics. So the problem is so massive, we all have to own the fact that every single one of us has to think about our job as a climate job now. We all have to do our part to go in the right direction. But what is the right direction? A lot of people were asking us that question at the beginning of our Sustainable Libraries Initiative adventure. And so we had to figure that out. And we've been doing so for the past 8 or 9 years, as I said. So we're defining the actions that you're taking in some pretty defined categories. We talk about climate action a lot, and a lot of folks have different interpretations of what does that mean. But there's 3 key components to climate action. And so all of the work we do is designed around these 3 key components and translating these kind of big ideas down to the frontline work that we do in libraries so that we make better choices every single day. So the 3 components are climate change mitigation, which you're probably very familiar with hearing about, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's the traditional thing we've all been talking about to try to slow the tide of climate change. We need to cool down the earth, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, right? We've been hearing about that for literally decades and doing an okay job. We actually saw the first report come out that was ever positive on this topic last year. The 5th climate assessment came out, and it said that we have slowed the rate of climate change by really focusing hard on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but we're not where we need to be yet. A lot more work has to be done on there. So we know we have to be part of that work. The other problem here is that it's already happened, right? Climate change is already having very negative effects on our communities. We have to figure out how we ourselves and how we help our communities prepare and adjust in the face of those changing weather patterns, more severe storms, crazy temperature changes that we're not used to seeing. It was almost 70 degrees here in New York yesterday, and now it's like 25 degrees. Like, it's wacky out there. So those predictability of our temperatures, of our weather patterns are really changing, and the severity of storms is much worse. We're seeing much more flooding, much more extended heat waves that are impacting humans, crops, animals, and ecosystems. So how we prepare our institutions as well as our communities is the second component of climate action. And then none of it works, honestly, none of it works unless we can get along with each other. So really thinking about the justice aspect of this work. Are we introducing respect, empathy, and understanding amongst our neighbors so they have that understanding that it's not going to impact everyone the same way? And are we able to get in a room together and problem solve in the face of whatever climate change is doing to our particular community? And this is work libraries have been doing for a very long time, particularly in the past 4 years. And that's going to be a really critical component to the work that we're doing moving forward as well. So all three aspects of this are built into this idea of the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. And the work we're doing helps to underpin action in those three areas. And what we're trying to do through the initiative is have everyone pull in the same direction with some focus, instead of us all kind of ping-ponging around, not quite sure what to do or who we're working with, as you see on the left, and move towards collective impact, where we understand where our time and energy is best spent. So that's our construct. That's how we design, and that's how we think. That's where we put our energy to produce resources and experiences that are useful to the library community. So this idea of a sustainable library takes all of this into consideration. These are the 4 key characteristics of a sustainable library, and the resources you have access to through your free membership and the certification program are all helping to move your library in these 4 directions. That you're a strong and authentic institution, you're living your values out loud. That means your policies reflect your values. That means your building upkeep actually cares about the environment. That means that we actually care about the humans that are in our buildings. Just the basics of human life, people. That's all we're going for there with that strong and authentic institution characteristic. And then we really need to see libraries positioned to not just be a passive participant, but an active catalyst for social cohesion and civic participation. That's the justice angle of this work. Can people get along? Do they care about one another? Are they activated? Are they working in our communities to make their communities better together with understanding, empathy, and respect for each other? That's good work libraries have been doing for decades. So that's going to be an easy one for most of you. And then the other 2 are getting way more deliberate. I think a lot of libraries have super good intentions, but we don't always have the follow through necessary to have the impact we really do need to have at this point on climate mitigation and climate adaptation. So again, mitigation, reducing those greenhouse gas emissions primarily through facilities and transportation and waste issues, and then active participations in climate adaptation, which may be a phrase you're not used to hearing, but really it's just talking about strengthening community resilience in the face of the impacts of climate change. So basically disaster preparation and recovery. How are libraries seen as assets in both ends of that equation? And what are we doing deliberately to be better partners in that work? So these are the 4 characteristics that we're designing towards. Now, as I started with that big picture of planet Earth, right? This is an overwhelming topic. It touches like on everything. So it's important for us to keep in mind, what is the ideal state? What's the vision that we're going for? And then how do we line up all the small choices we make every single day to go in that direction? This is my favorite quote. It's the only quote I have in my office. Alex and Roger will attest, I like minimalism. I like things clean and neat. But this is my one little piece of ephemera besides my award behind us for finishing my own certification here at the Mid-Hudson Library System. But you've got to think about big things while you're doing the small things, so all the small things go in the right direction. And so what we've done is really translated these big ideas down into the little things we do every day. The choices we make about program materials, like the craft materials or the cleaning supplies, or who we're going to partner with for X, Y, or Z, or where we're going to develop that collection and to what end. And so doing things with deliberation and with purpose is really what we're all about. So we decided that we couldn't catalog every single action that you take in a library. Our program is designed for public libraries, academic libraries, and school librarians. And when you think about the vast differences in the experiences of just those 3 types of libraries, there was no way we could like catalog every little thing you do every day and give you advice on how to do those things. But we felt what we could do is help people maybe think differently so that you would be empowered to make better choices moving forward. And so we really focus on the idea of a mindset shift, that you're changing the way you think about a lot of things once you learn more about how the world really works, right? Once you understand that a purchase that you make has a whole supply chain behind it that uses natural resources, that requires human effort to create something, that required transportation to get it to you, and the fact that there are impacts of all of those things. Were those natural resources used responsibly? Were those workers treated fairly? Did that transportation go as far as it really needed to, or did you actually add to the greenhouse gas emissions by picking something from someplace far away when you could have bought something locally? So as you understand all the components in a decision that you might be making, all of a sudden you can make better decisions. And again, that can sometimes feel overwhelming. But the idea here is that we're just going to practice. We're going to go for progress, not perfection. And so this is our mindset shift lens that we use. The triple bottom line is understanding the intersection of these three areas: how we treat people, how we treat the environment, and how much money we're spending and where we're spending it is truly what adds up to something being sustainable or not. Whether or not you're talking about office supplies, a building, or a community, this translation works for all levels, all scales of what you're dealing with at the library. So this is our definition of sustainability that we use. It's called the triple bottom line. It's actually a business construct we've translated over for library usage. You might be familiar with the economist who created it. His name is John Elkington. He wrote a book called Cannibals with Forks, if you want to read more about it. But it's oddly simple, yet very complex at the same time. But we want to focus on how it's simple and can help you make better decisions moving forward. So some of you might have already been familiar before you even got the free membership with one of our main resources, which is called the Roadmap to Sustainability. If you haven't already downloaded this, you can get it as a PDF or as a mobile app. We encourage you to use it as an individual. It can help you organize your thoughts. It's got definitions, a lot of key terms we're using here today, a space for you to write your own notes about what you're already thinking about on these topics, which can help you organize your thinking when you're maybe talking to coworkers or making a pitch to administration or a board of trustees or a municipality. It kind of gives you some of the language that might be helpful, that'll help you connect with other people who are like-minded or already doing work in this area. The other thing I know all of you are getting now is the newsletter, which comes out monthly. This is a cool way, again, free resource, even if you didn't have the free membership, to find out about the programs, what libraries in the certification program are doing. You can learn something every month from the libraries that are already in the program. So you're automatically subscribed to that because of our arrangement with your library association. But your library association also negotiated 1 free year of membership for you. So it opens the door to some new resources to help you learn and accelerate the work at your library. So at this point, I think the most valuable aspect of what you are tapping into here is a community of practice. You're seeing not just how the board of the Sustainable Libraries Initiative think things work well, and most of us are certified ourselves, but you're seeing over 130 libraries now going through the certification program, learning from their activities and sharing out their stories. So you can learn in a variety of ways from them that we're going to share with you. We actually have over 250 libraries engaged with the program at a membership level, not counting all of you folks that are now who have free membership in the program. So this is a very large and growing group of folks in our profession that are thinking differently about how to move forward and sharing what they're learning, which is really, really exciting. You can connect with other people who are doing the work and, trying and failing and trying and succeeding and learning from them. We have monthly meetups. We have listservs by library type, again, public, academic, or school. There's a pretty active Facebook group of anyone who's on Facebook. I know my new assistant here, who's quite a bit younger than me, told me only old people use Facebook now. So I guess I'm an old person now, but we have a fun time over there on Facebook in that group. We've got over 600 members. We share stuff out every week, and people are sharing how they do things or sharing news stories about their libraries, which is really great. We do quarterly webinars that are live, so you can learn online at an identified time from a speaker and have a live Q&A with them. And then all of those webinars are archived, so you have access to them on demand. And of course, we do our best to get to your conferences, both national and state level. And we try to do hangouts there, so you can visit us at the booth, come to our programs, and we usually have a little social where we can get together and meet each other in person, which is always really nice. But the idea here is that we're crowdsourcing the learning on this topic. We need people to move faster on the topic, but we don't have all the answers, right? So if we can identify the best practices, learn from people who have been there before us, that's pretty good. That's better than having the manual that tells you exactly how to do something when that thing doesn't exist. So already you can see on our website, you can check out the presentations of libraries who have been through the certification program, and I'll explain that certification program in just a moment. But there's also sample policies. So libraries in the certification program have to write a bunch of policies to make sure it reflects sustainable thinking and the triple bottom line. And they share out what they've done. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. There's also a vendor list we're going to share a little more information about, a program idea bank. And again, that practical advice and the stories that you get from people who are thinking like you, who might be a little bit ahead of you on some of these topics that you can learn from. So the program idea bank is pretty cool. We just introduced this just about a year ago. These are libraries in the program that are sharing programs that have gone really well in their communities or on their campuses and in their schools. So I'm not sure how many are in there now. I've actually lost count, but each one has an entry. You click on it. It tells you which audience it's good for, how they carried it out, what materials you might need, and any other little tips they might have learned along the way, like who in their community was a good partner to carry it out, how much money it took to do it, if any. So it's a cool way to get some ideas and get your own mind kind of flowing in terms of what this looks like and what might be effective in your community because it worked someplace else. There's also the vendor list, which was a great idea from our treasurer, Roger Reyes, who's on the line here today. The idea that we often find partners in the business community that help us do the things we want to do better. And so the members share what vendors they work with that they found to be operating ethically that help them carry out things they haven't been able to do before. So for a long time, we would always get the question about the Mylar covers on books. Is there a more environmentally friendly option? The answer is yes. Is it affordable is another question. You have to figure that out for yourselves. Or how do you recycle things that you can't put into your single stream recycling locally? Where are some of the vendors that do that work for you that you might do just for your library, or you might now become a collection point in your community or on your campus? So all sorts of vendors are on that list for you to poke around from and learn from. They might solve a problem that you're contending with as you think through your own operations. As I mentioned, we've got the live and on-demand webinars. This is a list of the currently archived webinars. I don't even think I got them all here, but you can see the variety of topics because it spans across those three areas of climate action, right? You're seeing here things that are traditional related to environmentalism, as well as some things that look simple on the outside, but are actually achieving some very complex things in your community. For example, fourth one down, the repair cafes. It's actually one of the best examples of a program that exemplifies sustainable thinking in our communities. It brings experts together from your community who know how to fix things. It brings people who need to have things fixed, who don't want to buy new or just throw it into the landfill. It brings people together working together on small projects and realizing they can fix things together, and they're doing so in a really fun environment at your library. So it's like a little microcosm of what it would take on a really large scale for us to do right by the earth and ourselves. So again, a lot of great learning is available there from people who have been there, they've done it, and they're willing to share what worked for them and help you avoid their pitfalls they identified through their efforts. The other cool thing is every now and again, there's savings opportunities. Roger negotiated with one of the vendors that our members identified, EcoChit. So you're looking for a healthier receipt paper. If you're still using receipt paper at your library, you get 10% off because you're an SLI member. We have a partnership with the American Library Association. We do a 4-week course through their e-learning platform, and there's free seats for folks that are SLI members. So those kind of opportunities come and go, but it's something to keep your eye on the newsletter for over the course of your membership with the SLI. So we wanted to shift and talk just a little bit about the certification program, and then we'll open up for questions. But the certification program is unique. It's one of a kind. It's customized for libraries, and it's actually award-winning. It was recognized by the International Federation of Library Associations as a green innovation in our profession. We actually got to go to Athens, Greece to get the award. It was a pretty special moment, but I think it acknowledged the work that we've done here, which is to say libraries are not businesses. And most of the green certifications that you see out there are really oriented for businesses. And for a long time, we thought, okay, we'll just make do with this. But then we realized we needed our own certification program. So we custom built a certification program. There's over 140 actions for public and academic libraries. School librarians here in New York have access to a different program. But for academic and public libraries, you're going through activities that help you practice that mindset that we mentioned, right? It's not going to be completely comprehensive, but it helps you practice over and over again in a variety of categories, this thinking that keeps in mind the triple bottom line. So for public and academic libraries, it's 12 categories of work, about 140 actions. You have a couple of required actions in each category, and then there's recommended things you get to pick and choose from based on your situation. But again, in each of these, it helps you embed this thinking into your organization, because it can't just be you as a sustainability champion that's trying to get this done. You need other people to understand, come along with you, and embed it into the culture of your organization. So that happens over the course of the experience. It's not going to obviously be a switch you just flip and everyone gets it and does the right thing. Think about all the different component parts that make your library possible, from purchasing stuff to running a building, maybe to designing programs, services, collections, partnerships. There's so many different component parts to what we do. But what we did is we broke down some of the most common activities you do in these areas and said, what if we put that triple bottom lines lens through this and said, okay, well, maybe when we do the landscaping for the library, we think about native plants, how much water we're using, what is the visual on this? Does it contribute to the pollinator pathway? Okay, now we've done our best by the earth on this one. Okay, did we do that affordably? Maybe, maybe not. We've got to make sure we intersect the reality of our lives, both politically and economically, in the activities we're trying to do to be more sustainable in our efforts here. So it does take into consideration the realities that library folks are faced with. And I think that's something very, I think, unique about this program. As someone who, I'm what's called a LEED AP, a Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design accredited professional. So I've worked in that end of the business for our libraries, helping them build more sustainable buildings. And when you look at a lot of the choices in the early days of the LEED certification, they were so expensive. It was almost elitist to be able to have a LEED certified building. We're trying to make this very egalitarian, that any library, no matter what your size, no matter how big your budget is, you're going to find a path here. You're going to be able to do this work in a way that repositions your library as a leader on this topic and making better decisions on behalf of people, the planet, and the bottom line of your budget, while respecting the bottom line of your budget. You'll also find tools within the certification program. Roger built a custom CO2 calculator to help you figure out your carbon footprint. So you have good talking points to use with your community to show them you made a difference in the new choices that you made. We can go more in depth in this in the next webinar that'll focus just on the certification program. But this is the kind of stuff we think really makes the difference when you can show people that by making different decisions, you've had a better outcome. So can you prove the work you're doing is making a difference? This is one of the ways the program helps you do that. And then we've also done things for folks that on some of the campuses and municipalities we're working with, they're now using the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a measurement tool to say, are we moving the dial in the right direction? So we've mapped all of the work we do in the certification program to the Sustainable Development Goals to help people see how the work in the certification program contributes to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We know this might be more of an East Coast and West Coast thing, not so much in Iowa, but I think for folks, particularly in the academic libraries, you're seeing more academic institutions infuse this into some talking points, their own climate action planning, and to have the library aligned with that is a very strong position to be in, because it makes it easier for people to understand how libraries are contributing to a much larger, really global goal that we have. So if you want to learn more about the certification program and hear from people who have actually done it, we hope you'll join us on Thursday, March 7th, just coming up here in about a week. You can register right in the same spot you did for this one on the Sustainable Libraries website. And like I said, you get to hear from people who have actually done it. Roger and I have done this work and have been through it, but I think there's nothing like hearing from someone in a library just like yours, maybe a smaller rural library or an academic library in a larger university. You want to hear from people who have been there and understand your context. And we've got plenty of folks who have been through the program at this point who can speak to very specific questions you may have. So just to recap here, and then we'll do Q&A, but this is a list of the resources that you have access to. To access, you're going to show you in just a second how you access your membership so you can log in and get to all of this stuff. But it's pretty cool and it's growing on a regular basis. So we are really attentive to the idea of adding new resources, highlighting new programs that libraries in the program have come up with. So in my book, there's always something new that you can learn. But to access your free membership, you can do it yourself. You can go right to the SLI website. So you see the link there, and you had the QR code earlier today, and you got there to register for today. So I know you can get there. But you just go to the link at the top that says participate, then go to SLI membership and choose your membership type. Are you a public library, academic library, school librarian? And then when you get to the how did you hear about us option on that form, just select other and then note which of the state associations that you are affiliated with. And then Alex is going to be able to cross-reference that with your membership list and make sure you get your login information so you can get in there and get started with whatever you're interested in learning more about. If you already know the certification program is right for you and you just want to dive in, you can just contact Alex, who you met at the top of the webinar, and his email address is right here, sliadmin@suffolknet.org. And just a little sidebar here to explain, SuffolkNet is actually because Alex is an employee of what's called the Suffolk County Library Cooperative. So that's the library system here in New York State, which is the fiscal sponsor of the Sustainable Libraries Initiative. So the initiative is volunteer created, and it's grown to the point where we needed some staff to help us support it on a daily basis. And the Suffolk Cooperative Library System stepped up because so many of their members were interested in the program. They now have staff that not only support those members, but folks nationwide and in Canada who are parts of the program. And that's Alex and Sophia. Alex, who you got to meet here today. That's why it says SuffolkNet and not Sustainable Libraries Initiative after Alex's email address there. But again, you've got that in-depth webinar coming up on March 7th. And I'm just going to leave this screen up here, Alex, if that's cool, while we do questions and answers in case folks were working through those steps. But we're happy to answer any questions that you have. I know I'm from New York. I talk really fast. I'm sorry about that. But if there's anything you wanted more information on, you've got questions on, we're here to answer them here this morning.
Will the slides be made available after? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do it. Alex, why don't we agree? We'll do a follow-up email to everyone who's registered. We'll have the slides, the recording, and the instructions for how to access your membership.
Okay. I've allowed people to unmute themselves, so if anybody has a question, you can go ahead.
I see Virginia.
Or drop it in the chat.
Yeah, Virginia's got her hand up. Go ahead, Virginia.
Yeah, I think I'm muted. No, I am not. Okay. I would like to see a list of specific examples. You mentioned at the beginning that there is a PDF for that. Where can I find that PDF? I want to see what other public libraries have done so far.
Sure. If you go to the website under members, the members link at the top, you'll see a list of all the members in the certification program, and anyone who's finished their presentation, you can just click on their name and you'll see a PDF of their final presentation.
Okay. I have to go to members. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. William, hello.
Hi, Rebecca.
How are you?
Is the March 7th session going to be recorded? Because I'm going to be out of town doing a exhibit.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll record that one too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Now, that recording, are you going to send it, or should we request that the recording?
You should register for the workshop and we'll send it to everyone who is registered.
Oh, okay.
We have in the chat from Samantha, she's an Iowa Library Association member, having trouble getting the website to waive the membership fee. It's saying it needs me to check the please bill me box. Okay, I will touch base with Samantha afterwards. I apologize, I didn't read the whole thing through.
Alex, this
Yeah.
is Roger. In general, for everybody to know, you can't get the website to waive the fee. When you go to the how did you hear about us, at the bottom of the form, you would just fill in MLA or ILA or NJLA or NYLA, your association affiliation, and then when we receive that, we check and make sure that the person is a member of that association, and we waive the fee on our end. So they can't get it to automatically waive. It will tell them to accept the fee, but we will not be charged for it.
Good. Thanks for clarifying that, Roger. Sandra, I
Thank-
see you've got your hand up.
Yes, hi, good morning. New Jersey librarian here. Just wondering when I'm going to need to pay you. I've been free for a while now, and I want to know when that is over. I don't
So
want
is-
to be a freeloader here, so.
Sandra, does that mean that you got your free membership about a year ago when we had the first arrangement with the New Jersey Library Association?
Whenever Michelle set that up with the state library and all that good stuff, I think, and it might have been right around our conference time in June.
Okay, so you've got a full 12 months, and then you'll receive a bill if you want to continue the membership after that. So
Okay, great.
Roger and the staff will send that to you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you for asking that question. Most people just want to get away with it. I love it. Alex, I see your hand up.
Hey, I'm joining the webinar today from Fairfield, Iowa, and I just wanted to check in. I actually I registered our library as a member of the Sustainable Libraries Initiative after Rebecca's presentation at the Iowa Library Association last October, and I was just wondering whether or not there's any difference in the offerings that maybe our library would receive after having joined before the ILA kind of became kind of a member organization, and the sort of the offerings that all ILA kind of associated libraries would receive.
Alex, did you join as a member or did you join the certification program?
Well, I believe as a member of the certification program, that was kind of my intention, but yeah, unfortunately, probably like some other library directors, I got insanely busy with so many other projects right around the same time, and so I really haven't been able to take any next steps since the initial sign up.
Yeah, so if you signed up for the certification program, then I would say maybe put some time on your schedule to reach out to Alex at the SLI admin address to set up an orientation to your dashboard. Because yeah, you have access to a lot more than what we showed here today. You have access to the full certification program, which has the action items and all the tips for how to carry out the action items. And again, there's no ticking clock on that. You can take as long as you want to finish the certification. So we all have been there. We know what it's like to have competing priorities. But Alex can help you get started with that.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
And I will add also that if you joined as just a member and not a certification member, shoot us an email and we will waive the next annual recurring. So if you paid for 1 year of membership before the ILA agreement, shoot us an email and we'll waive your renewal for 1 year.
Thank
So
you
that'll
so
get
much.
you your 1 year free membership.
Oh, I see Danielle's here today. Danielle, not from one of our 4 states, but that's cool. It's nice to have you here. And Danielle's asking if she signs up for a personal membership, will she have access to the same resources that were presented here? And the answer is yes. Oh, and now I see that Alex already answered that question. I'm being redundant. I'm sorry.
I apologize. I'm
That's my fault.
Thank you so much for answering.
Danielle, it's nice to hear your voice.
You too, always.
All right, cool. Alex, did I miss any questions at this point?
It doesn't, I don't think so. Wendy asked, is the membership individual or a library membership? Which I think we answered.
Hi,
There's-
I have a quick question. My name is Sophia. I'm with Linda Hall Library in Kansas City, Missouri. We just joined the SLI and SLCP. We got an email from a company called Print Relief through SLI. Would you guys be able to talk a little bit on that? There were some questions
Yeah.
from the IT end in terms of like what they're monitoring and how they measure our success.
Yeah, I'm going to start this and then Roger's going to come in and give you the nitty gritty on it. But Print Relief is a partner of the Sustainable Libraries Initiative, thanks to a company on Long Island here in New York who is underwriting the program. So the program, it actually calculates, it's a translation, it calculates how much paper you're using in your library. And then this company here on Long Island pays to have trees replanted in an equation that equates to how much paper you're using at the library. So Roger, I'm going to ask you to explain exactly how this all works, because I think Sophia is right to question. The IT folks are like, wait, you want what? But it actually is sophisticated enough to has software to connect to your printer, so it does the count for you to save
cool.
time. But Roger actually made it way easier, so I think I'm explaining that part wrong. So Roger, I think you better take over at this point.
All right. Yes, Rebecca is explaining the old way that it was done with Print Relief, where they would put this software called FM Audit, and then it would have your printers push out page count to their software, similar to if you had an HP account or something with one of your vendors that supply you ink for your machines. They go by page count and know when to resupply you. Well, that was the barrier to the success of the program, because IT folks aren't really happy with letting strangers come in and see their networks and have things pushed out to other vendors that they're not directly familiar with. So we've changed the program. If you go on the homepage of the SLI, scroll down to the bottom, and there's a link that just says, click here to report your paper purchases. So now what we're doing is we're having the member libraries that are in the certification program report their paper purchases, and then we manually input them for the libraries. Part of the orientation, we do discuss this and show the libraries. And as soon as you sign up for certification, you're given 10 trees are planted on your behalf, 83,333 pages. And then from there moving forward, as you purchase paper, you report it, we upload it onto the platform, and then your ticker is going with your paper purchase, no longer using FM Audit. So you can disregard an email from Print Relief. We're doing it direct.
Thank you so much. That makes sense.
All right, I don't see any other hands up, but I hope today by coming here, you now know Alex, Roger, and Rebecca at the Sustainable Libraries Initiative, and you know there's friendly faces there to answer any questions you have about your membership, or if you're in the certification program and you're looking for some help. We are excited to help you. We love helping you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We're thrilled that you came here this morning to make the most of your free membership through your association. And I hope you thank your leadership at your state association for having the foresight to join forces with us. We'll just say up front here, no money is exchanging hands. Your association didn't pay for this relationship. We are colleagues. We are out here doing the same work you are. So we welcome you. Thanks for joining us. And we hope to see you at future events.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was very good.
I have a quick question, just like related to my individual library. It might be an email, but I recently got funding for a pollinator garden, and I'm looking for any resources. I know about the Pollinator Pathway program, but I'm looking for any resources. Should I email you? Should I give you my email?
Jessica, why don't you email me directly, rsmith@midhudson.org, and I'll connect you with stuff that I've collected on that topic.
All right. Can you put your address in the chat?
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will email you.
Sounds good.
Super excited. And your climate's not that different from ours. I'm in Mass.
That's right.
So
Well, I'll tell you my secret to success is the Cornell Cooperative Extension. They were my secret weapons for our pollinator project, but I learned a lot along the way.
did they physically do stuff for you?
They designed the garden for us and recommended all the plants. So I didn't have to do any of that work, and they did it for free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because they're nearby, or they do that everywhere? Anyway, I'll email you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good, Jessica.
So Cornell Extension.
Yep.
And what's the extension called?
It's the Cornell Cooperative Extension Program. It
Okay.
might be different outside of New York State, so that's why I thought I'd email you offline about that.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, I
No
appreciate it.
problem. All right, everyone, thank you. And Alex, thank you for running the webinar this morning.
No problem. Thank you, everyone, and we'll
Thanks.
see you soon.